Hey everybody, this is Javier Balderramos. This is Planet Texas himself. I have the GM. I have the GM, the one and only. He is the man that runs Evil Genius Games. For those of you who don't know, it is a role-playing game book that everybody gets to be nerds. We get to use our imagination. We get to make our own characters. It is D&D, but it is just as good as D&D. Thank you for coming on, sir.
I'm happy to be here. I'll clarify a little bit. I'm one of the evil geniuses. I'm not the evil genius, but I'm one of them.
You're the evil genius that came on the show, so you are the
There you
evil
go.
genius.
I even have the
Of
t-shirt.
course. We will have those t-shirts too at some point.
We love them.
So, like when I was doing the review, and I noticed that Nacho Con 2026 just happened. How did
Uh-huh.
that work out for you?
They work out pretty good. We keep NachoCon is specific to Everyday Heroes, and everything there was related to it. And so it went well. We started off, we had about 40 different players that were there. It was all online. It was, the benefits who we had them in their pajamas. And we had some panels. We brought on uh, two staff for each of the panels for creating, a world and how to create an adventure and then how to, well, what we have next in cinematics and kind of what's required to get those up and running. And then the last panel was me talking about the um, organized play program for about an hour. And that's kind of where I tie in. That's my duties as expected, is getting everybody to play in the same world together. And so it was beautiful. We had a lot of fun. There were some real life things happened. I got sick, for example, so I had to cancel one of them.
Congratulations.
Oh, it was blessed.
Congratulations getting sick.
Oh, I love getting sick.
So when we ask these questions, so in detail, when we talk about Evil Genius games, it's actually like a film geek's dream. It's a film geek's dream for gamers, for tabletop players, because they have more than just one game. They have multiple games and they have multiple editions. Like, for example, they have Pacific Rim, which is my buddy's favorites that I would get forced to play and forced to like eat food and drink alcohol and, generally an terrible time, but I still do it because I'm part of the team. They have Kong Island, they have Crow, they have Everyday Heroes. It is really just a film geek's dream come true when it comes to playing these games.
They're a blast. The basic mechanic is the Everyday Hero system, which is what you're seeing in that core rule book there. And everything else utilizes that system in one way or another to do what it does. So you want to play big stompy robots and military against kaiju, you play Pac Rim. If you want to explore a jungle world where creatures are a lot bigger than they really ought to be, you play Kong. You want to play a realm overrun by criminals, you play Escape from New York. You want to get stuck in the jungles and fighting against, you know, overwhelming odds bad guys, you play Rambo. And those are the cinematics, some of the cinematics, we've got a bunch of them out there and how they're run. But the core mechanic is all the Everyday Hero system. So if you got your own vision of a game, like we don't have a license for a lot of movies out there. Of course, there's a lot of movies, but you can take the core mechanic of, oh, I love, I'll pick on Die Hard, right? I love the concept of Die Hard. I want to be able to run Die Hard. I want to do McClane in that. I want to have a team of us instead of just one of us. You use the Everyday Hero system to accomplish that. And so that's the concept of it. It's all about your hero. Yeah, whether it's in the movies or your own imagination and bringing that where you want it to be. And so we have a lot of fun with it. And then we've got the redemption setting, which is, we're actually working on that book right now as another movie book, actually. It's our own thing. Redemption's our organization for the organized play. We're out there saving the world right now. And so, yeah, like you have a character, everybody has a day job, and you go out and save the world on the weekends. Or in my case, one of my characters is a football player, so he saves the world anytime it's not a Sunday during the football season.
See exceptions for Sunday.
He works every day except for Sundays, or occasionally, Monday Night Football. But
Yeah, we gotta have that.
yes, right? And
Yes.
you spell it out. The characters are built with that kind of concepts. How did they grow up? What did they do for a job? And then how are they heroes? And that really, those three concepts, those three things define who your character is. Like that football player's name is Blue. Okay, Blue is technically a heavy gunner. He can pack a machine gun. And I'm not talking a little machine gun, I'm talking a big one. But he usually doesn't. He's really a nice guy. His job, he's a linebacker. He tackles people. And if he's not tackling them, he'll beat them with a football. And that's his mechanic for saving the world. That's how he does
What possessed the company to be like, hey, we're gonna be doing movies?
it. I'd have to interrogate Dave. Dave actually comes from a really geeky background. Yeah, he's a tech guy who loves playing RPGs. And so he created the company to do that. And we've been working on different cinematics. Technically, I'm one of the newer employees. And if you want to get really honest, I'm an independent contractor. I'm not even an employee. But I've been working with the company as a volunteer for that organized play program for actually since January of 2024. Right about the time the original game was released. So it's been a lot of fun. But what possessed
So
him
I
to do
want,
it is probably just his love of movies, honestly.
so I want to ask you about the philosophy behind Everyday Heroes. Because you just mentioned, hey, he's a superhero all the way up to like Sunday, and he got to watch football.
Well, he doesn't watch it, he plays it.
Well, if he plays football,
He's in the
like
NFL,
exactly.
yeah.
So what is like the philosophy about that? Like how do you balance honoring the films and then giving the players the freedom to rewrite them?
The way we approach them is we look at the films and what would make it mechanically functional. Okay, so like in Kong, for example, we look at, okay, how does that island work? What kind of organizations are there? Do we need to add different types of heroes aside from the core rule book? And in Kong's case, we did. We added like field researchers, uh, and to make that world breathable, real. And then after we set up the kind of for lack of a better word, we set up the landscape, the sandbox, and then we handed it to you and say, go break it. Have fun. Right? Because your words in the movie, your way you play through a cinematic isn't the script. Well, we don't tell you how to do it. We give you the framework to make your own world out of it. Right? So we'll come up with rules for what the Kong is like or other giant creatures. We'll create an adventure that's in that universe for you. Like there's one that in Kong specifically that I've run where you're out there taking samples of these giant creatures and you get attacked by not Kong, but something else big, and you have to run from it because it'll kill you. So we set that kind of theme, that mood, and that environment and let you loose in it. You do what you want with it because that's not our job. We're not trying to limit your fun. We're trying to give you the room to play in. Does that make sense?
Of course it does. Actually, a little more than that. I wanted to kind of move on and ask you about the designer choices. Like, how exactly are you able to connect with new players and veteran players alike?
That's always one of the funner problems, right? And this comes from most of the designers are Gen Xers. Not all of them. We have a couple youngers.
Uh,
Oh, I know it's horrible,
oh
but
my God. Feel old.
that's why we love these old '80s films, right?
Yeah.
'Cause this is what we grew up on. And so that's what we do. And we're trying to bring that love of the movies and the love of the action films into a modern realm. And yet we want to appeal to Gen Y and Gen Z and, Gen Y are millennials, Gen Z and the new Gen Alphas, because we want to make it open for everybody. Okay. By the nature of a lot of the films, like Crow, for example, Crow's dark. It's not a pretty universe, right? So we have to kind of explain that this one's going to be a little dark, people. But other universes are not quite as bad. Pac Rim can be shaved down to where it's still action, it's still adventure, but it's not horror. You know, um, Rambo's hard to do that. Escape from New York's hard to do that. But the reason why we pick those films is a multiple part, right? We've got our love of the films, and then we've got the availability of talking to the studio and saying, hey,
Yeah.
can we do this? And sometimes that's a lengthy process. Dave does all of the contract negotiation on that front, and he'll work with a studio for months to get the okay on a project we want to tackle. Now I know of two that are finished I can't announce yet. One's a space one, and one's more modern, everyday sort of thing. And we're really looking forward to them. But we latch on to what do we find in the universe what adds interesting mechanics to the basic core game that we love, and how can we share it? And we want to make it playable, as I said, for all the generations. So we will release things that are not specific to a certain audience, right? The way we do that, ironically, a lot of our more obvious publicity is people playing the game. Dave, as I mentioned, has a son. His son's like 10. Okay, so he's teaching his kids the next generation stuff. So Dave's a Gen Xer, and he's teaching an alpha how to play the game. My own kids they're Gen Zs, and so when I brought them up playing the game in the house, this is before Everyday Heroes, but teaching them how to play the game, getting them involved in the genre, and then they do their thing. And so it's all about just the sharing of the hobby and making it appealing to everybody. That takes some work. But the conventions and our home games and games in stores is how that's really shared, is the passion at the table rather than the rule book.
It's funny that you were talking about, like, I have a buddy who I think I already said it, that he just tortures me to play Pacific Rim. Knowing that I have a big love for kaijus and giant robots.
Big stubby robots. Everybody loves big stubby robots.
Very low areas. Like I have the Godzilla set. I have I have all the Toho stuff. I don't actually have the legendary Godzilla stuff because I'm just not. That might as well just be superheroes to me. Like,
That's one of the interesting problems we have of balancing the universes against each other, right? So you take Everyday Heroes as a core system, and it works well. And some of those work really, really, really well in a modern, right now, step out of the door game like Rambo or Escape from New York would
yeah,
require, a lockdown of New York or someplace like it to really run that system. But it's functional. It's believable. But then you take things like Kong and Pac Rim, and if you've got a Jaeger from Pac Rim, you kind of rule the world right now. So there's a few of them that have to be kind of isolated because of what they are. But the concepts of a lot of them, like Pac Rim, we have bonded twins is one of the classes So we
Yeah,
pulled out a pack
it's
rim.
just like in the movies.
Yeah. And so you can actually play that anywhere you want. You can take a bonded twin set to Rambo if you felt like it. But you can't take a Jaeger because Jaeger doesn't work that way. And
Yeah, I
so
don't think we're gonna get Rambo or Jaeger.
the only way to get a Jaeger, down a Jaeger is a bigger kaiju, right? So
Yeah.
it's a escalation of metal versus monster at hundreds of feet tall, and us with our little machine guns are kind of like going, "Can we play too?" So there's a little bit of that, but it's designed to be at the core very interchangeable. I have a character who is from Total Recall. Actually, she uses the spy, but she's this little teeny Japanese girl. Yeah, not girl, but she's a 20-year-old, and she's actually a very, very, very good spy. Nobody suspects what she's actually is because she walks around and she just changes outfits by walking around a building. So yeah, that's pulled from Total Recall. I have a field researcher pulled from Kong. I have all sorts of different characters, and they can fit anywhere.
So what we're saying is like the basics of all the books can fit into one game, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. There's exceptions, as I said, like Jaegers,
Yeah.
but the basic core mechanics are designed that way. Okay, and so like I can take those heroes and feed them to zombies with Return of the Living Dead if I wanted to. There's ways to do it, and part of my job, actually, believe it or not, is that continuity making it happen. So that gets really entertaining because you bring out the zombies and you go, okay, how are we going to work with this one in our a real world setting? Or how do we take Rambo and tie it into a real world setting? That's part of what I do. And so I've got that continuity that I tie in to the today modern setting. We call it redemption as an organization or ego as a program.
So I wanted to ask you, like, do you actually take the time to talk to some of the writers or producers when it comes to actually making these books
All the time.
all the time?
All the time. We have meetings on Thursdays for 2 hours where we test the material. We talk to uh, within the organization, within Evil Genius, we have Eric, who is the editor supreme. We've got Paul, who's kind of the visionary, does the layouts, the visual guy. He's art director is his official title.
Yeah.
Gruber does a lot of the mechanics. Um, Brian does a lot of the mechanics. Dave works out the contracts, comes up with the overall vision of it. Haley takes care of social media. I'm in charge of the ongoing program for gaming stores and things like that. And ironically, my wife's in charge of the conventions. So all said and done, there's only about 10 of us, and we'll bring in individual writers for different things that are under contract. And no, we talk to them all the time. I talk to if I got a question about a mechanic or like yesterday, I was going, why did we do this? What's the thought process on why this class is different than this class? And I just messaged and Gilbert answered within about 20 minutes. So I talk to him all the time.
So I
And
wanted to
so
ask you about
go ahead.
one of your newest expansions, so to speak. You have Return of the Living Dead. You have
So
one of the greatest IPs ever just sitting on your lap. And now you have it and you turned it into a tabletop experience.
not just that, but yeah, we've also got a dice board game that we're working
Well,
on.
I say Return of the Walking Dead because I actually went out of my way to get it. And I haven't actually told anybody how it got out because I haven't actually opened it yet.
Zombies,
Zombies everywhere.
zombies. Yeah, Return of the Living Dead is an interesting one. Okay, zombies is not my personal thing, but that's okay. That's what it's all about, right? Because everybody's got their own kick.
Yeah.
You like big zombie robots, you play Pac Rim. You like survival in the jungle, you you played, Rambo. You like zombies, you play Return of the Living Dead. And
Rambo versus zombies.
what's that? Rambo versus
Rambo
zombies.
versus zombies. Yeah.
Yeah. And like here's a true story. Okay, when my wife and I were first trying to learn the game, this is 2 years ago, trying to learn the game, we set it up an encounter with our first two characters. My first character was a martial artist, and her character, I don't even remember what her character was. And we looked through the book and say, okay, let's fight a couple of these things. So we threw dinosaurs at us. Yeah, we lasted about 2 rounds. The dinosaurs ate our faces. It was pretty bad. But it's the core rules have all sorts of things for that. But when you get into the IPs like the zombies, right? So we look at the concept of Return of the Living Dead, what makes it unique? And in this case, you can play zombies. That would be different. So there's rules in Return of the Living Dead. Okay, I guess there's a little bit of a spoiler on being a zombie. Because the Return of the Living Dead zombies have brains. It's a very unique concept. And so you have zombies. And then you always have in the horror movies, the one heroine, usually not always a heroine, but this one person who just survives everything. Right? And so they have
Yes.
the final girl is what they call it, class, specifically that came out from Return of the Living Dead. So it's an interesting one. I've actually looked through it.
Which cinematic adventure surprised you the most? Like, which one was like, wow, this we need to keep doing this. Like you're just thinking like in your own mind with your own opinion, and you're just kind of like, what is this going on?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I GM a lot. That's part of job duties, but I've also GM'd, like I mentioned before that we actually started the interview, for about 40 years. So I've GM'd Pac Rim, I've GM'd Kong, I've GM'd Escape from New York. I've GM'd some of the other fun little one shots that are conceptuals of the things we're working on. I would have to say I liked how Pac Rim worked. It's probably my favorite as well, is Pac Rim. The Total Recall one was an interesting one for me too, because it's based on the older movies, not the new one. And there's actually some difference between them. And so I looked at that one as how was it done there, and how would it apply to the newer movies if you're not familiar with the old ones? Because I've never seen the old ones, for example.
Oh, you
So
should. They're incredible.
yeah, I've heard they're really, really good, but I just
They're
haven't
really,
watched them.
really good.
But then you look at those, and I always watch different animes and movies myself, and I always look at it with the view of, okay, what can I do with this IP in my own game, right? Even if I don't create a whole cinematic universe like Evil Genius does, I always pull these things out. So Entrapment, you
It's,
remember that one? You ever seen Entrapment?
I remember. Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What would that world be like? How would that world function? Because you have the two main characters, the two thieves, and then you got all the accessories to them as well. So something like that, I would take. Okay, what would I do with it? How would I run that system? How would I create those security systems? How would I create all the organizations needed to run that? And how would I breathe life into it? Right. So we always look at all sorts of fun things. But the ones that stood out to me from the cinematics, probably Pac Rim, although Kong is up there too, because I love kaiju.
I think everybody loves like big robots and kaiju's, and it kind of makes me wish that y'all had something with Godzilla coming down the pipe work at some point.
I, I'm sure we're working on something, but I don't have
Uh,
anything I can say on that one because I don't know.
no, no, no. Yeah, yeah, but don't have legendaries. Have Toho's, because Toho's is the best.
There you go.
We need the cardboard buildings and the people in the costumes. It's like, Like I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
Hey,
and
look at some. I think your wife was behind
my
her.
wife walks around. She was going to grab my phone because my phone was ringing.
Yeah. She
Shame on
couldn't
my
stop
phone.
at that.
How dare it ring during an interview, right?
Oh no.
Oh, I was saying we do that sort of thing all the time, both my wife and I. It drives her nuts. Like my ringtone happens to be from K-pop Demon Hunters.
It's a great
You
movie.
see
That's
that
an
one?
amazing. Yeah.
It's great. And we sit there and when you get a group together on a weekly basis. Yeah, we've had groups we get together about twice every other week, and so we looked at K-pop and go, how would I create a character in that universe? And so even though K-pop is not something that really functions within Everyday Heroes, I have a character based on that universe.
Oh, it could
She's,
completely work in Everyday
yeah,
Heroes.
she's
It
a
could completely
singer,
work.
and she will go around and save the world. I haven't actually
Yeah.
played it yet, but I theory craft off of every movie I watch. It drives my wife actually kind of nuts.
Well, that's her
And some of
problem, not
the
yours.
things I pull are just weird concepts. I mentioned
Remember,
my football player.
it's only your problem until she makes it your problem.
Well, she GMs for me, and I GM
Oh,
for her, so it goes both ways. If I come up with a weird character, she has to put up with it.
okay.
So we have a lot of characters who are in this action world concept. We have a lot of characters that look at ways to solve the problem without killing people. And so one way, for example, one story, we were out there hunting for Bigfoot. Found that Bigfoot was actually a genetic experiment by a mad scientist. But in order to get the Bigfoot hunters to leave him alone, okay, the group I was with had that football player and had, I was a football player, and had a podcaster and his technical crew. It was a father and son that did this, who played with us. So what we did is started streaming online, did a podcast about this fake Bigfoot story. They rolled really, really well to get the message out to everybody, to make it really believable. I get dressed up in a Bigfoot costume and I walk around. I botch the roll. So I walk out going, roar, roar. And my wife's GMing this. And I have to go, what do I do with this? Because that's how the game works, right? You use your imagination, you put your own character, your own personality into a role. And how would I solve this problem? So she has to deal with my problems
That K-pop Demon Hunter movie has been on the Netflix top 10
forever.
forever. Forever since it came out.
It's still the one of the songs, Golden, was like Billboard top of the charts for like 16 weeks. It was nuts.
Yeah, that's a phenomenon. That's incredible that I'm waiting for it to come on DVD because I don't want to buy the other country's DVD of K-pop Demon because I could easily get it already.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting for the States to get one. And I don't know if
yeah.
they're gonna get it or not because it's Netflix.
Well, we'll have to see, but they're also making sequels.
Yeah, there's
So
a whole world coming out of Netflix. There's a whole world
well,
coming out of a K-pop Demon Hunter.
it's crazy. And you look at it, right? So you take the concept that I was talking about, right? When you create your character, you go through the background. How did my character grow up? Right. And so if we go with like Ruby, for example, well, she grew up as the daughter of an idol, right? So she's going to be affected by that. So she probably grew up, say, rich, or she grew up a little bit neglected, or depending on what you see out of her. She had a lot of expectations on her before she became a singer. What does she do now? Well, she's a professional singer, right? So she's a creative. That we've got a career, a profession. We plunk that in with the background we chose. And then how does she do what she does? She inspires people. She's an idol, right? So that's my career. I use my charisma and I go, okay, what am I? I have got to be an idol type. And there's your character. and you run with it, right? What's her biggest stats? Obviously, charisma, right? She's not lacking in strength. That's probably one of her next ones. She's got some decent constitution, right? She's decently tough. So you prioritize those things, and then you wrap up your character. So I can create a character in about 20 minutes. With
Usually, it's
it's actually really easy. It's one piece, one piece, one piece. You're done. And the rest of it's just polish. And you create a character like that football player. I created him for Super Bowl Sunday 2024. Is where he started. I actually ended up kind of weird. I ended up GMing this weekend, Super Bowl Sunday too. But we were at a gaming store on Super Bowl Sunday, waiting for players, and we didn't have any players show up that day. It happens when you're starting a new system because we just barely started, right? And so I sat down and go, okay, I'll get this player. How do I want to do this character? I go, well, let's make him from LA. Okay. So he's a Mexican from LA. He's a big guy, but he's Hispanic. And he grew up in LA. He got in the wrong side with the gangs and whatnot, and then decided to turn his life around and became a professional athlete. So that's how Blue is his character name, Blue 42. That's how he got his got put together. Grew up on the wrong side of the streets.
Hey, so I wanted to ask you about what is the connection between the creator and the players? Like how does that work when it comes to the company itself? Like you take their input, do they tell you like, hey, this sucks. We want to see more of this again? How exactly does that work?
There's a lot involved, especially with the Kickstarter programs like Return of the Living Dead, right? Those who backed it got kind of a preview email of it, a last chance to look at, if there's problems with it that we need to address. But we work with on our Discord server. We work with the developers or the users a lot to get those kind of feedbacks. Um, my feedback is tied with that ego program, like I was saying, but I know that Dave reaches out and talks to him on a regular basis. He even has a channel on the dispatch, ask me anything as the CEO or Discord. Sorry, two
Discord.
different programs. Discord is the one that people talk on. Dispatch is where we set up our games. They're named too similar. I always get them confused. But yeah, we use the Discord server a lot.
That's what I've noticed. I noticed like everybody's using Discord. Just seems like the go-to.
It's not bad. It's a freebie, which is great for
Yeah.
us small guys. So like I've got Discord servers for different things like my own personal hobbies and whatnot. But the price is good. It's hard to argue with. It allows you to leave messages like an old chat system, but also allows you to do voice, allows you to share files, allows you to do a lot more other things. So Dispatch, our Discord has been really good for us, both as evil genius as a way to get a voice out there, and then just personally me. I use it all the time. I don't even want to say how many servers I'm connected on.
Too many to
Can't add
count.
that high. My wife's not even more because she reaches out to conventions, stores, and all sorts of things. She can't keep straight what's going on anywhere. She's probably
So I
hearing
want to.
me myself.
That's all right. She hears it. Remember, it's not my wife. It's your wife, not mine.
She
Mine
has
ain't
spreadsheets
around.
of her Discord servers.
Yeah, she's gonna throw a bunch of books at you.
Yeah, she's good. She's good, and she's very organized, and so our personalities work really well together. Right? She's always looking at the structure and kind of grounds my out there ideas. And so when like Dave comes up with an idea or one of the developers, we meet actually on Wednesdays. That's the conflict that we got coming up. We meet on Wednesdays and talk about what's going on in the business every Wednesday. Everybody can talk and everybody, is to I don't want to say brutal, but we're very blunt about opinions. So
Oh
if Dave
yeah.
says something, he'll share a graphic of an IP that I can't talk about quite yet. For example, says, well, does this convey what we're trying to do with this IP? And we all kind of chip in and say, well, we like this, we don't like that. You know, this particular image looks like it's not quite geared toward the crowd you're aiming for. And we're pretty blunt, as I said. Yeah, we understand we're all working together. We all are as a team, and we want to present the best image forward, of course. And sometimes behind the scenes, we will talk about how those things work, which IPs we ought to pursue, whether an adventure, because we also do playtesting, like I said, every week, whether this adventure is good for our what we're trying to accomplish that month, or whether it needs to be refined. And so we'll either make the changes in house. That's what we have our edit team for, or our mechanics like Goober and Brian, or we'll send it back to the writer and say, no, this needs to be polished better. Something here is not quite making sense. So we QA ourselves very effectively, and Dave and I is a very interesting situation with Dave and I. For example, I'm very, very, very honest about my opinions. And naturally, any two people in the world, anybody who's been married knows this, you're never going to have the same opinion as anybody else. Right. And so he and I, because we're looking at the world from different angles, we'll argue about the best way to do something. Okay. My job is the play program where everybody's playing in stores or at, this universal ego redemption system. And his job is to run the company. And so, well, what do we need to do that? Well, this is what we need to accomplish. I can only do this. So we work with it. And he and I play off each other probably more than any of the others do. And it's a good thing. It's a very interesting approach because you have to be honest about the feedback. And we are, and it's very fun to develop those projects. Like Return of the Living Dead, as I said, it's not my cup of tea personally. I'm not a zombie fan, but that's okay. But I look at the books and I go, okay, this doesn't make sense. Or this adventure, because we play tested some of the adventures, I go, this is a little drawn out, or this needs to be refined a little bit. We do that all the time. It works out really well.
So I wanted to ask you about some of your current products.
Go
Other
for it.
than The Walking Dead, Heroes, New York, Kaiju's, Monsters, and The Crow, like what other brands do we have to play with?
Okay. There's the old IPs, as I mentioned, are 2-year licenses. They're kind of wrapping up their realm. We're starting at the new ones with Return of the Living Dead's the first one. Okay, so along that line, we also have our own rule books that we're working on. Okay, our first rule book, of course, the core rule book. The mechanics that bind everything. We've got the
Mhm.
vault, which takes rules from all those first generation IPs and puts those in a book. So the vault has the bonded twins or the spies in that. And then we're adding more and more and more books. And one of the books that's been heavily sought after is called The Armory. And it's a collection of weapons, vehicles, things like that. And the thing is huge. And that's what's taking so long, is the thing is friggin' massive. I think this is coming off the top of my head, so I could be wrong in this. But the last number I heard was like 500 pages. So it's
Wow.
taking a little longer to put together than we originally expected because we're very fussy about that. And here's a prime example of it. We had talked. One of the comments Dave had made a long time ago was AI, and the creatives in the group. Again, he has a computer background. The creatives in the group, like the writers and the developers, are like, we don't want to do that. And so we made the argument to him that no, we want our it all to be, hand drawn, non AI, everything else, which takes longer. You tell a computer to draw an AR-15, you're fine. But somebody doing it by hand is going to take a minute. And so that's one of those situations where we stand by the creatives in the industry that we don't use AI for our products. And, AI is an interesting concept, but we don't use it for the products. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like you want everything done by people.
Well, yeah, I've fiddled with AI a little bit for like my character concepts. I've got an AI image of Blue. I've got an AI image of my French
Yeah, I think that
correspondent.
everybody has that kind of stuff though. You know, where the animated picture of yourself.
Yeah, but I look at them, and the best way to describe them is they lack soul. Human touch just gives them a heart that AI just doesn't. Anybody who's worked with both can kind of understand what I'm saying there. And so I worked with, even without Evil Genius, I work with my own artists for my own projects, and I would never replace them. It just is not going to ever happen. But so it's one of the things that we're very adamant about. It's not using AI, for example, because it just is not the same. And the creatives really are adamant about it, and I agree with them.
Oh yeah, because like normally there's some kind of like there's always some kind of like argument or fighting when they find out like Magic the Gathering was using AI and they got torn apart by it. It's like there's a lot of companies that are using AI and they just kind of they just basically get in trouble for it
Yeah.
by the people themselves.
Well, and the concern that we have in the industry, right, is that it's taking away from uh, jobs, basically. If AI can write a story, or do an artwork, why do we have creatives doing it? And as I said, it's all about the soul of it. I've had AI, I fiddle with it. As I said, I've had AI draw artwork, and I look at it, it's just not, it's not livable. It's not real.
Yeah.
You can tell. And I've had AI write stories. There's a bunch of AIs out there that you can even chatbot with, and they're just lacking. I don't know how else to explain it, right? And so
No,
the
no,
creatives
I
are
get
really
it.
adamant.
Like,
You give me an AI to wash my dishes, and I'll be happy. But I'm never gonna have an AI write my paper or write my adventure or do my artwork that I'd ever publish
sorry,
because I care too
the
much about
robot maids are coming.
it. Oh,
The robot maids
please.
will be here soon.
Well, my wife really wants a maid bot in the dishes.
Just don't tell her that she is the maid because she'll probably get
Oh, she can
mad. Huh?
just start throwing them at me. Dishes are done. Wham!
Yeah, right on top of the head.
No, my wife and I have been married for 33 years. We put up with a lot from each other.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. I can't even make it 33 months, and you did 33 years.
Yeah, 33 years technically is in April. We're not quite there, but really close.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations for making it this far.
You haven't killed her yet. And that's what
Oh,
we joke about. We haven't killed each other yet.
well, at least not in real life, maybe in the
Not in real life. She
games.
kills me all the time in games. But that doesn't matter. Sometimes
So
the
I
dice
wanted
say
to.
you're gonna
I feel like she's gonna come behind you and she's just gonna smack you.
die. She's listening to me in the room. I'm gonna get so much trouble later.
She's gonna come behind me and smack me.
Oh, I'm gonna pay for it. We're actually playing on Saturday and Sunday this week, and
Mhm.
she's jamming both Saturday and Sunday, and I'm gonna die. I'm just
Yeah.
so dead.
So
Oh, look
I'm
at
gonna put
that!
this on the. I'm
Another
gonna put this on the
random shot.
internet.
Oh, it takes out Curtis's character.
It's coming on the
Yeah.
internet, and she's gonna see it for sure. I'm gonna tag
No,
her in it
we have a lot of
just
fun
to add the
together.
salt. So I wanted to ask you about. So Nacho Con just happened not too long ago,
Right,
and I
right.
thought that's a really good starting point for anybody that wants to get into the game.
It's a good place, yeah.
But where do we begin for beginners when it comes to playing in these games?
We have free quick start rules on one of our programs called Sidekick. And that's a great place to start. So I'll talk just really briefly about the two applications that we run. Dispatch is where we schedule games. So you can always go to Dispatch and say, what's happening? What's near me or what's soonest? Or, give me anything within a 50-mile radius. Or I'm going to be in Indiana. What's going on in Indiana? Because I'm not in Indiana. I'm picking on it.
Yeah.
So that's a good place to start. And then Sidekick is the accessory that we all want to use. You can create a character on it. You can get the rule books are all there. You can get new adventures there, and things like that. The quick start rules are actually free on Sidekick. And so that's a great place to start. There's other ways to start too. You've got the Ego program that I run with, and we're trying to get that up and running. And like in Texas, just because we're talking Texas,
Because talk about Austin specifically.
there's
that is the most painless thing for me to get.
Austin's not bad. There's a game castle, I think, in Austin, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, it's only 5 minutes from me.
Yeah, and game
We go
castle, for
to
example.
we play at Emerald Tavern
Yeah,
because
well,
we're
you pick your place, right?
of
And
course
we'll be more than happy to get a GM. I need a volunteer. I need somebody to GM, but I can give them all the rules they need, all the adventures they need to run the game at whatever store they want. I bring up Game Castle because we work with Game Castle a little bit.
yeah. But I'm
But
saying like if you get a GM, you need to place one in Emerald Tavern. That would make my day, and I'll torture the rest of my D&D friends because that's where we play at. Because
there
they
you
serve food, they serve alcohol, they have coffee. We're next to a barbecue place.
go.
Like it's a fat kid's dream. It's a fat kid's dream. Like it's a meat man's magical land. It's at
What more?
Emerald Tavern.
Yeah, what more do you want? Sounds like all you
It
need to put
is,
in
it
there is the
is.
wizard, and you're set. But
Oh my
I've
God.
got
The wizard's there. The wizard's there. It's
I've got 8 GMs that have signed up in Texas. I
good,
just
good. You need to send one. Send one my way. And then my
well,
GM.
or have your buddy that's really pack room friendly say, "Hey, yeah, I'll GM. Reach out to me.
I would
I'll
be a
get hooked
terrible
up."
GM. I'll be cussing up the storm if you got me to GM.
Well, and every GM has their style. Okay, and every player has their style. And the two have to mesh, right? So not every table is going to be right for every person.
Yeah.
But you get your group together, and my job is to get that happening, right? So I give the GM a psychic account, so they have all the rules, and then I give them tickets in Sidekick that they can pick whichever adventure they want to run. So I don't even tell them what to run. Evil Genius does these monthly little snippets. We call it our bonus features that are some trope from media and an adventure that goes with it. So, like, we did pirates in January. We're doing alien encounters in February. March is about bikers, and April's about the afterlife, if I remember right. Right, and you go back a few. We had one about dinosaurs. We had one about um, the Lost World. We had one about uh, Ghostbuster type things, hauntings. So you
Like
pick whatever you
October.
want to run. Okay, and I make sure you get what you need. So I just need somebody to say, "Yeah, pick me," and then
So I wanted
email
to
me
ask
and
you,
I'll set up.
about like which one out of all the games that you oversee is really like the gateway game that gets you into getting into other games.
Of all the games I've played in the 40 years I've gamed,
Yeah.
the gateway is still going to be probably D&D, right? Because it's so prevalent. Or you can come in from the card standpoint, like Magic,
Yeah.
but D&D is kind of your gateway RPG. But then you take that in the concept of I've got a party and then you find your refinements from there. Like Everyday Heroes is very 5e similar. Matter of fact, we use the basic core of 5e. So anybody who's played 5e D&D can play it. It's just that, okay, rather than a fantasy world with elves and dragons, now we're dealing in a modern world with guns and planes. And we still have some of those fantasy concepts in here, just snippets like Return of the Living Dead. Yeah, you got zombies. Kong, you got big stompy things. Pac Rim, you got robots. But it all kind of starts with what makes a group work. They find each other, and then they find what they want. I've played D&D. I don't play 5e, ironically, but I started in the old Red Box days. I kid you not. My first two characters were Bert and Ernie. Okay, I
From
played
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street days.
Yeah,
Hey, Bert was a fighter, Ernie was a wizard. They didn't call him that at the time. They called him magic users. But back then, I mean, I literally been playing for 43 years. Okay, and I've GM'd for 40, the last 40 of them. I started GMing with my brothers, and we didn't even have the real rules. I had a copy that was missing the cover. I didn't realize at the time, but I didn't have the red box. When I started GMing, I had the blue box, which was, like fourth to eighth levels.
yeah.
And so I worked with that, and I made the rules. But you always got to find just something in common with other people and build on that. Okay, so the group we had here in Ohio that had to deal with Bigfoot, right? We played at a game store. That's where we met them. Okay, and Doug and Milo, uh, father and sons, group, like I said, and me, we're all players in Christie's world, and we found our synergy. We're not really gung ho murder hobos, kill everything's. We like to take a more thoughtful approach to it. Does that work with every player? No, but it works with the three of us. I got another group that we're getting together that are this coming from me. I'm in my 50s. They're older than I am, all the three of them, and they come together and they've got the concept that they've got is they're a band that is still waiting to hit it big, and they're roaming around the world saving it as this band trying to put the first album together. And there's
Saving the world.
people, and that's kind of their cohesive thing is this band concept. And my wife's the player on that one. I'm the GM, and she part of the band. She just goes along with it. But you find your glue. You find your opening system. The mechanic is usually is that 5e, and then you just refine it to what makes you happy. Yeah, and for us, it's the modern stuff. It's the cinematic movies. It's the big booms and tanks and whatnot. Big stumpy robots.
Of course.
And,
I think
they
it's ironic that you brought up like the ages basically when it comes to like playing. I just recently sitting here when I was recording for Magic or recording while I was working with the Cycle Gaming, holler at your boy. They called us elderly, and then I replied, like generally all the D&D players, and it's becoming Magic the Gathering itself too, and a few other games where it is like the older crowd are the only ones playing the game at this point.
well, the D&Ders, the original D&Ders, right? Started playing
Yeah,
40 years ago. None of them
yeah.
are
A
less
lot of
than
people don't know
50.
that. A lot of
Yeah,
people don't know that at all. Like,
yeah. I mean, technically, it started in the 70s. Yeah, I didn't start
like,
quite that young, but I started about
yeah,
80s.
no. But the popularity of the game comes and goes. Like I remember when Stranger Things first came out, and that was a good like 10, 15 years ago. And that makes me feel old now when I see them,
But what
and
about
I
ET?
remember them when they were kids.
Yeah, what about ET?
God, you know what? I wasn't even born when ET came out.
Yeah, E.T. Ironically, and this is one of the things that people don't know. You got the brother, the little brother that is a good friend with E.T. And he's in there trying to talk to his big brother, right? And they're teasing him about the goblin. The big brother and his friends are playing D&D. Okay, and a
They're
lot of
playing
people don't
Dungeons and
realize that.
Dragons.
Okay, and of course, Stranger Things focuses around D&D very heavily. Um,
Yeah.
Demogorgons from D&D, Vecna from D&D. There's so much tie in with that. And just like what they had happened, right? You got to make that game approachable to a new audience because we're not getting any younger, right?
No.
So that's what D&D did, and others. I'm not picking on just Watsy on this, but they've kind of reinvented it and made it more approachable to young groups. And the biggest thing that in the industry that I've seen has been very detrimental are what we call gatekeepers. And those are crowds that say, you don't play my way, so you can't play. You don't see
Oh,
the
those
world
are the worst
like that,
ones.
you
Like
can't
I could
play.
tell you.
They're horrible.
Like I could tell you. I'll tell you the story, and I've told it a couple times. I'm gonna tell it again.
Uh-huh.
Like I remember when I first moved to the Austin area, I went to a card store, and I'm open carry because I'm in law enforcement, and I protect. So I've been doing one single job my entire life.
Uh-huh.
So for the first time when I moved to Austin, I was open carry everywhere. And the employee, he started hyperventilating. I I was like, what is wrong with you? He's all like, what is that on your side? Is that is that oh my God. And I'm over
Well,
exaggerating when I say it, but I mean, it was like basically he just freaked out. He's like the state of Texas has never seen a weapon before.
I think the dogs are armed in Texas. I mean,
It
everybody in
is.
Texas has a gun. And
Oh, you know,
I don't have a problem with that.
like when I leave the state and I go to like one more of like the awkward states like Seattle, and or I go to California, or I go to like these middle of like blue states. I know I'm gonna get a little political. And they ask me about Texas, I will still tell them that we still got Cowboys and Indians going on. Of course, they know that's not true, but a lot of them are dimwits, so they don't even know.
Well, and this is kind of a personal thing to me. I'm an anthropologist, actually, by degree. That's what I study as
Oh,
people.
oh, so you know that.
I know a lot more about it than most. And I've actually traveled to Egypt, and I've traveled to Israel, and I've been to Germany, I've been to Mexico, right? And so technically, I've been on because Germany is in Europe, and Egypt is in
Yeah.
Africa, and Israel is technically in Asia. I've been on four continents, and so I've traveled more. And a lot of people don't get out enough, is the best way to phrase it.
They don't get out at all. And
And
then they act
it,
like the YouTube has given them the world, and that's the worst part.
it doesn't matter what channel you're looking at. I'm not picking on YouTube or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Everything is through a lens of some variety. Anybody who tells you a story is telling it from their point of view,
Yeah.
right? And so when we get gaming going, there's a few things we leave out of gaming, like Escape from New York or even Everyday Heroes in general. We don't talk about real world religion. We don't talk about real world politics, right? Because that's a gatekeeper concept. If you're not
Yeah,
my
because it kind of
religion, you
ruins
don't
the
want
game.
to. What's that? It ruins it.
That
Yeah,
kind of ruins the game. Yeah.
exactly. And so I've played with everybody from the most liberal people I've ever met to the most conservative people I've ever met. And we check the politics at the door, and we're all good.
Yeah,
I
well, you
know
should. You should when you play these games.
exactly. It's a game. We're supposed to have fun. And no, that's one of the fun things. You can leave all of the real world out of it. It's an escapism thing. We do it for fun, and so we keep that in check. I'm in Ohio now. I'm from Utah. Dave is in uh, California. Okay. Brian and Haley are in Indiana. I'm not sure where exactly Goober is. Eric's in Washington. So we're all over the place. And so all those differences of opinion make us who we are. And we can make a better project with all those different points of view working together. Right? That makes
Of
sense?
course, sir. Well, no, it makes complete sense. Like I generally just I just try and go and play and drink some beer and just have a good time. And if I'm
Have a good
loud
time.
and obnoxious, well, then that's kind of how it goes sometimes.
Right. And you find a group that you'd be loud and obnoxious with. And that's all
Oh
good.
yeah, it's the same group that I play with Commander.
Yeah.
Like, so
I've had, go ahead.
the last thing I wanted to ask you is, did you have anything to say before we actually leave off, sir?
The biggest thing I wanted to kind of get out there to everybody, all right, is find your game. Have fun with it. Everyday Heroes is perfect for a modern action hero game that is very universal. You can do anything you want with it. We've got all these cinematics that we're working on, and the round one cinematics are I think 8 of them. Uh, have worked their course. The rules are out there, and we're starting the new cinematics. But instead of hitting them all at once and kind of trying to do too many things, we're hitting them one at a time. And so Return of the Living Dead is the first one of that. And we get fully vested in killing zombies. And the next one, we have our other projects we're working on. So we've got Starships coming out next. Intergalactic Heroes is coming out. And it's still a ways out. I'm not saying it's not, because it's a lengthy process, to get it all printed. But that's the thing. So we're always evolving, and there's always branching into what makes these modern movies so awesome. And so find your movie, find your group, find your clan, and just have fun with it. Okay. My job is to create a world where everybody's sharing it. And so we're actually working on a book for that you can play in our world, my world, sort of the redemption, is an organization that saves the world sort of thing. You play in my world your way. And that's what it's all about. Is sharing the love of the game, love of the movie, love of the setting, and doing it whatever way you want, whatever makes you happy.
And thank you for coming on. So everybody knows we're gonna have the descriptions. We're gonna have everything on here, so they're gonna know exactly where to go. They're gonna know what you're about. We're gonna have links that go straight to you. If you have a YouTube channel, everything's gonna go straight to you, sir,
That's awesome. I'll
as
make
well
sure
as the
I email
company.
it to you. I sent you a link, by the way, because you would ask me about the mission statements and things like that. I sent you a link for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on there. I'm gonna put that on the description so they
Yeah.
know.
And then I'll send you links for, of course, the overall program, and then I'll send you some information about Ego, the organized play, and playing in stores.
All
And
right, thank you.
we're looking right now, actually, trying to get a convention in Texas that kind of fits the criteria. My wife's been working on that, so that's her job. She gets to do that fun thing.
Oh,
But
it's
we're
easy.
always
I can
looking.
tell you where to go. You can come here in Pflugerville, Texas.
Which
Like over
convention?
here, we have a hotel. I think it's called the Marriott, and it's just like all of the smaller conventions always end up at the Marriott over here in Pflugerville, which is like 5 minutes away from Austin.
Yeah, let me send me a list of the conventions, and I'll pass it to my wife because she's
Yeah,
for conventions that are not huge, because the huge ones tend to be very
but they're
expensive,
just big enough.
but
Yeah,
just big enough. Exactly.
yeah, yeah. No, I got it. I go to
So
those that are just like,
yeah,
or like
I'll pass it to her.
even
Make
here
them.
in Pflugerville, we have a 1 day convention at the local library, but everything is free.
That's
So I don't know
perfect.
if you,
I love free.
huh?
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
everything is free. They literally turn the library into a convention center for a single day.
I've done that. I've done that. I've worked with in all of the years, right? Even before Evil Genius, I've been working with conventions for 30 years almost. Well, no, not 30, but about, it's been more than 20. So yeah, it's getting close to 30 years. Because I did, BC before kids. Um,
Yeah.
but I worked with conventions back in the 90s. And so I've been working with conventions all that time in different perspectives. You have the little small ones, and we've done that. We've done it very specific to um, a, an individual system, like NachoCon was Everyday Heroes, all Everyday Heroes, or their Pathfinder's got one called PaizoCon, things like that. And we've worked with really big other conventions as well, sci-fi conventions or gaming-oriented conventions or fan-oriented conventions. They're all different. They all draw a different crowd. But if you got a good gaming conventions, that's perfect for what Christy's working with. So she'd love to hear that.
Of course, like I'll send you a couple that people would go to and they would love it.
Well, cool. We'll try to get some GMs out there and run some games. Because
Yes,
what
sir.
what we want to do, everybody wants to play games. That's all it's about, right? Find your
Of
group,
course.
find your dice, find your clan, have fun.
All right, sir. And thank you for coming on.
Happy to be here.